Let's apply some of these basic concepts of animation to create a moment in a scene. Let's say you have this ball and you want this ball just, I don't know, maybe just bounce around, and we'll follow this ball as it slides on down here. Nothing big to our animation. Go into frame 0 and position your object however you need to in your scene. And this object seems a little too big for the rails. Let me shrink it. So everything we're going to do is an illusion. It's up to us as an artist to give the illusion that it's bouncing on these planks. We can involve physics engines, but when we start to involve physics engines to detect floors and walls and other objects, then we're losing a bit of the control of animating this object. Physics engines are a wonderful tool to simulate reality. And also, when you're using physics engines with a game engine, it's excellent real-time feedback to create animation. Let's start with the basics. We need this ball to seem convincing as it bounces around here. Start with a good position and just place it down on the ground, not through any objects. Pressing S to begin the keyframes, which begins that first anchor point on our graph within the graph editor. I have automatic keyframes on, so from this point, all I have to do is move this object to create the bounce. I have the move tool selected. I'll go to frame 30, which is 1 second later, and I'll just move this ball to the next position. I'm kind of blocking out the animation. Where would this ball be in 1 second? Let me press play. A little slow, but I'm okay with that. Next, I'm going to deal with the bounce of the ball. Your choice. You can just block out the animation like I'm doing now. And then at the next bounce, it will be here. And maybe then it bounces against this building, comes on back. So figure out that blocking the animation. Make sure the timing works. There to there, and then maybe a bounce against the building. I have easing selected currently. I could go back to graph editor and change that. We'll see if I need to change that. So blocking out animation is a great idea when you're trying to still figure things out. You have timing that has to hit a particular mark because 3 seconds later, X happens in your scene. Something funny, something unexpected, and that ball, your character, has to be there within X seconds, 3 seconds. Here, you can also think about animation as you're just pushing through an environment and experiencing the environment and seeing how your character or object will act and react to things in your scene. In which case, maybe just playing with some blocking and then going back and filling in the bounces or whatever secondary motion you have with your character or object will help you figure out your animation. It's not all about getting productions done. It is sometimes about experiencing your environment through the character or objects you've created. Maybe in another 30 frames, my object is almost back to where it started. So why would I do that? Because between here and here, I think it's going to take a bounce against this wall. But look what happens. My character just goes up like this. I don't want that. I don't want that sailing. The reason why is because I've been using automatic keyframes, only recording move along the z-axis. Let me go back to each keyframe, and I'll toggle forward. I'll press the S key, toggle to the next keyframe, S key, toggle to that final keyframe, S key. Now when I go here and hit the wall, see it's not sliding, it's not anticipating that the wall ever existed like before. So press the S key to record not just the current translation of just the moving along one axis, but all movement, all scale, all rotation at the same time. But when you're animating, this is kind of how you expect things to go. You're not just locking in one axis, not locking in one position. You probably want to lock in all your positions. If you don't, then with automatic keyframing on, you can just push through your animation and then go back. And when you think you have spots or you see something happening like I just did where It was slowly elevating along the y-axis. I'll go back and just press the S key at each key by toggling between keys. Since I did this, and this is the action reaction I'm looking for, let me play it. I think it's a little slow. If things are running a little slow, I can condense the keys. I'm just right now looking for pacing. Within 3 seconds, what did I achieve? Is my story correct? It bounces up here. I probably don't want to go back to the same exact position. I want to advance this object this way and be a little more in view. I'll come back and put a camera in here afterwards to better frame up the action of this ball's journey. Let me add a little bounce in here. Say at this frame, it bounces. Now I have bounce. And now I need another bounce. Bounce, bounce. Maybe this other bounce could be real hard to get the energy so it bounces and gets onto the wall. Remember, conservation of energy? Energy just doesn't magically appear unless there's an engine involved. And right now there's no engine. There's no extra power to the system. So I want extra bounce, a little extra height right here. And I'll make sure I'm at that frame by using my keyframe toggles. Let me zoom in. I'll use the range slider to magnify this area. A little extra energy is going into that system right there. Bounce, bounce, because this object's acting with purpose. Bounce. Now I could place it a little even higher on the wall and hopefully avoid moments like this where it's going through things. It's up to us as animators to correct things like this. But maybe just by raising it on the wall, I can get rid of some of it. I'm pushing this object to the wall. You could zoom in and just backing it off a little bit, seeing where it collides with the wall. Bounce, bounce, and big bounce up there to the wall. Still have to correct it when it's going through here. No big deal. When you see the collision, like here, just lift the object up. See, it has to clear that position. And if you don't have keyframes, automatic keyframes on, press the S key. And it still didn't clear it. Maybe I keyframed a little too soon. Let me pull this back. S key. A little accent like this, depending upon your camera, it's not going to be noticeable. We're in control of the camera. If the scene's locked, this can't be. You have to correct it. And I have to correct this one. Let me lift it up. S key. Comes, hits the rail. That's the action and the reaction. It bounces to the floor at an angle like this. Maybe this is where shot 1 ends, and then we'll go to shot 2. You would save this file as shot 01, then file save as shot 02, and now you can erase all the keyframes and pick up the action. This way, any changes that you do at the beginning, you don't have to worry about propagating those changes throughout everything. Now I'm looking at this action reaction. It's kind of like a pinball. Back, this is the part where I don't like, where it just knows about this rail and just kind of does this wiffle ball movement. Let's look at the tangents for here to here. I think these tangents have to be linear. I'm going to select these 2 keys like this. Go under Windows, Animation Editors, Graph Editor. Let me more key select here. I got that 1 tangent. Those are my 2 tangents right there. Those are my 2 tangents. I'm going to convert them to a linear tangent. I just want linear action just for those 2 moments. Let's take a look at the animation now. Less anticipation of this wiffle balling. That looks a little better. Let me get it to bounce off the frame. By frame 150, which is a whole 5 seconds later, this animation's over for shot 1. So it's bouncing down. I think by frame 120, 135, if I want to go exactly to frame 135, you could type in 135 into this field. Then the time playback head goes right to that position. And get that frame, I just want to do a little blocking. This ball should be over here. And let's look at the speed of that just by scrubbing. That seems like good speed. So bounce in between here and here needs to bounce up a little bit.